again. I mean, I probably will, but like, I probably won't die to him as much. I just did not know what happened. That's all. Like, I like the way that it was indicated showed me something else. All right, let's see if I get everything ready here. Okay. Is there anything interesting that's happened? I was gonna watch the whole Andrew Tate video, but I don't want to today. Oh yeah. Okay. I'll probably watch it tomorrow. Character is about 45k, very well. Yeah, maybe, I mean, but I was only a tier 11, right? So like anything you could, I mean, if I had more, it just would have happened to me at a higher level. Path of Math just released a video about his ban. Let me see. Huh. Alright. There's like no shot I'm gonna watch a 55-minute video about this shit. Like literally 0% chance. I mean, here's the thing. Let me get this on. We're good to go. All right. So here's the thing with like his ban. Like, okay. I bet that like I think that like even after he said what he said, I feel like even after that, like he was trying to like play it down. He was trying to be like, oh, well, you know, I got this in trouble for talking about Chris. I guess I'm gonna have to watch what I say. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like every step of the way, he was a bitch about it. He was. And that's a fact. You read the tweets, you listen to what he says, you read the fucking posts, you look at his history. He was a pussy ass bitch about it the whole time. I think that if he just takes some time off, plays other games, does something else that he wants to do, and he comes back like 6 months later, like 2 leagues later, he's like, Chris, my bad. Can I play the game again? I bet Chris would probably be like, yeah, sure, it's whatever. Just don't pop off again. I honestly think that would probably happen. Cause like, it's like, why, like, he can't, he's ID banned? Well, yeah, but he could just talk to them and say, listen, I'm sorry, can I please play the game again? I think that already happened. Well, it's too recent. Like, he said that probably, and then he went and he did the last thing. You see what I'm saying? He tweeted that. No, he didn't tweet that. He tweeted some other bullshit trying to minimize what it was. You see what I'm saying? And, yeah, Chris, bro, I mean, bro, like, yeah, that's the thing. And, wait, League of Legends, cry about PoE sucks 6 months, wonder why he's perma? I have no idea. And after his video call, he'll get the Ackman treatment. I'm not sure. Take some time to think about what I've done. Reduce his 55-minute video. I feel like you don't really need a 55-minute video. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, he's had other instances. I don't know. I feel like that's like, you should just be able to do that in like 5-10 minutes. What's all that you're going to be talking about for that reason? Talks about free speech in his video. And like, that's the thing, is like, I do think it's important to like, people are able to like express themselves and like, they don't just get fucking like randomly banned if a developer gets mad at them. Like, I think that's bullshit. And like, nobody should be like, oh, well, you know, like, rip bozo. Like, that's bozo in itself. However, it's deceptive and misleading and obnoxious. Let's be honest, that's what it is. And so that's how I should express him. No one stopped him at all. He just got smacked for it. Well, it's not that he got smacked for it, but like, it's like, should you smack somebody for that? That's what the question is. And free speech and consequences of your actions. See, like, I really don't think that there is as big of a difference as that. But I don't want to get into that too far. All I'm saying is, like, I think that GGG was in the right to get rid of him, given his history. And given, like, if it was not harassment of a specific developer and there's already a pattern of harassment in the past, like, I probably would be on his side. But that's not what happened. I feel like if you're, like, harassing somebody is, like, that's bad. Like, you don't want to have that on your platform. So that's all it comes down to. Trash the game wouldn't be a big deal for personal attacks. Yeah, I mean, we could talk about this all day. I think most people see where I'm coming from. Anyway, let's go ahead. I'm going to close this real quick. I'm going to look at this video. This is a video Bellier made. It's called World of Warcraft Has Hit Rock Bottom. I can't believe it. I thought that last year and they just kept digging. Like, you always think that it's rock bottom and then they're like, wait a minute. We're not even halfway there. So let's take a look at this video. People want me to watch this. They linked this to me. I'll take a look. I'll watch it. See what it is. Here we go.
Welcome back. Last time we covered Mythic, but there's a problem with that. Most people don't play Mythic,
Most
so
people don't
what about
care.
Normal and Heroic, the raid tiers that most people actually do? Well, tier after tier, we've witnessed a huge decline in the raiding scene this expansion, reaching new lows across the board. The drop-off between each tier is unprecedented, almost halving for both normal and heroic since Castle Nathria, and as we
I think a big reason why this shit doesn't, like, people just leave and they don't raid is because, like, raiding, again, like, this is a hobby horse with me, but I'm gonna get on it again. Half of the time that you spend in a raid isn't doing the boss. Trash, respawns, fucking running back, summoning people, buffing up, getting food buff, preparing for the fight. Like, if you take a pie graph and you look at, like, how big is the pizza slice for boss fighting, it's probably not even half. You look at Lost Ark or Final Fantasy, that's not the case. I don't think we want a boss rush for every raid, but it needs to be better than it is now. Like a lot of the, like, for example, having trash, I think, is probably, like, one of the bad things, but it depends on, like, how much trash you have. So, like, if it's just a few mobs, it's not a big deal, but, you know, take for example, like, going to Sausage. I don't know what the fuck is actual Gascoigne or fucking some bullshit, right? The boss in Sepulchre, you have to clear, like, 7 packs of trash. Why? How, like, I mean, does this really make the game better? Like, does it make the game better that you have to do this? Because I know some people think, like, oh, well, it makes the raid seem bigger. No, it doesn't. To me, it just makes my AFK break seem bigger. Because the moment that we start trash, I get knocked off the edge. Oops, sorry, I can't release. It's a bug. I'll be back in 5 minutes. And that's it. Like, I don't have fun with that shit at all. It's fucking annoying, man. And I think that's a big reason why people don't raid, is that it just takes too long. And the reason why it takes so long is not even the raid. It's just it's logistical challenges that the game implemented themselves. They put these in the game. I feel like a lot of people are raiding in Season 4. Yeah, I think a lot of people are, because you get a new reward. There's a lot of stuff going on. Of course, that's what's going to happen. But I think that it's not going to be comparable to how many people are raiding at the start of Shadowlands, for example. Anyway, let's keep going with the video. You know, that meaningful trash effects later on to raids and like Final Fantasy raiding. I think maybe like a few trash mobs and that's about it. Like, I think also it's mainly like summoning and like getting to bosses and running back from a wipe. Like, I don't want to have to run back. I just want to respawn in front of the boss. And I don't think that there's any objective value, and I don't even think that there's any perceived value that having to run back to the boss provides. I think it just sucks. So you want easy mode? No. What do you mean easy? I want the boss to be hard, not the time. What, do you always feel that way? Yeah, every time I wipe, I'm like, oh fuck, no, I have to waste my time again. Yeah, Ronnie builds character. That's what people say. It's just so, like, I swear to God, like, MMO players have such a fucking ego around having their time wasted by a fucking developer. It is amazing. They're like, well, this is a bad mechanic, but I can beat it because I'm good. No, it's just because nobody else gives a shit. People don't want to do it. Here we go.
Talked about, Mythic hasn't fared much better either.
Yeah.
And while the percentage of guilds who manage to progress through and defeat the end boss on each difficulty has actually, I suppose this is the good thing, remained somewhat stable, that's only the percentage. The actual number of guilds has unfortunately fallen off a cliff, with 9.2 setting new record lows.
No surprise.
In our Mythic
there.
analysis, we covered the reasons that will overlap to the other modes, so
Yeah.
hey, let's go do a speed run. General player sentiment and participation numbers being down, less people playing WoW. People having had enough of the Shadowlands because
I think also there's like a lot of other games out right now. You know, you've still got people playing Elden Ring. You've got the PoE League. There were some people that probably moved over to play a little bit of Tower of Fantasy. Obviously, Final Fantasy, Lost Ark. All of these other games are out. And like at the beginning of Shadowlands, there weren't really as many other games that were competing for the game, competing for people's time as much as there is now.
of lore, gameplay, and overly fictitious design philosophies, a lack of regular game updates,
Wrath coming out,
the natural losses that happen from tier to tier within in most expansions, Sepulchre's unique difficulty, Season 3's shorter length, and external factors like Blizzard Entertainment's culture, and of course, migration to other video games.
Yeah.
Today then, you are going to see that in addition to looking at guild participation, there are fantastic, fascinating things to look at with our parse numbers that show quite a story.
We love graphs.
Would you like to see modern versus classic? We've got...
Bro, Bellier's been watching my fucking stream. He has been... I knew for a fact, man. Because, what? Like, wait till you guys see these fucking numbers. This is insane.
that for you too today. And it's honestly insane. Just
Watch.
like ignoring Masterworks, today's sponsor, who let everyday people like you and me diversify into the art market. Now, contemporary art has outpaced the S&P 500 for the last 25 years, by more than double, appreciating more than gold, real estate, and the S&P when inflation is high at a whopping 33% annually. Repeating, of course. And that's why I've partnered...
There's a lot of really rich people that buy art and then they resell it to like diversify assets for this reason. This is actually a legit thing. Now, I feel like this is kind of like a 1% advertisement though. Like, I mean, who else really is going to be doing this unless you know, drive a $100,000 car?
With Masterworks. Masterworks offer investments in that same contemporary art category. Now, importantly, this is not NFTs or anything like that. This is fractional shares of actual paintings. Like
fractional
Picasso,
shares?
Monet, Banksy.
What?
When Masterworks sells a painting that you've invested in, you get a potential return. And the 6 paintings that they've sold thus far have averaged a 29% net annual return. Even
That's crazy. That's a good idea. Wow. Damn, that's actually smart.
through COVID, a bear market, and record high inflation. Now, of course, past performance is no guarantee of future results, but we all do know the general investing wisdom that we should have a diversified portfolio. That's what's ideal, and Masterworks make diversifying into art accessible and possible by everyday people. They are seeing record demand, but you can skip the waitlist by clicking the link down in the description.
Makes sense.
Thanks to Masterwork for sponsoring today's video, and with that said, let's go and take a look at normal mode. Normal, the most accessible form of organized raiding in WoW. While these numbers won't tell the whole story, they certainly do paint a rather bleak one for us. I should say, unfortunately, because I do actually want to see the game do well. Okay, so normal, the most approachable raid difficulty excluding LFR. You'd imagine it would be pretty stable, but it's actually the one that's experienced the largest decrease in participation ever during Shadowlands.
Well, it's obvious why. I mean, it's because normal's hard to do. Like, there's more mechanics. Like, normal back in, like, Legion was a joke. Like, you could do normal, it'd be so easy. You didn't have to worry about anything. It was basically LFR, but you make the group yourself. And then over time, they've made the game harder. And then you have those players that normal mode was made for, well, now they can't do it anymore. That's what happens. And I think it's like a trickle down effect from them trying to make the other raids a lot harder.
Well, there were noticeable dips in Battle for
You could skip
Azeroth. They
mechanics
pale
back then,
in
yeah.
comparison to the most recent few tiers. Looking back to Legion, you can see those numbers do look very stable, at least next to these two later expansions. What's changed since Legion then? Well, I would posit that normal mode will correlate the most to just average gamer interest in WoW, average player numbers, because of normal mode's more broad appeal and accessibility.
Yeah, it's easier.
And I think that means the normal mode is probably a pretty damn good indication of overall player losses. While we don't know overall player losses, I think normal mode shows us.
I actually think normal mode is going to be probably more indicative. Like, if you're going to lose 50% of people, I bet 80% of those people are going to be from normal mode. And the reason why is because a lot of those casual players, like a hardcore Mythic Raider in WoW, it's very hard to get the hardcore Mythic WoW raiding experience from playing another game. Like, Final Fantasy provides a different experience, Lost Ark provides a different experience, but if you like what World of Warcraft Mythic Raiding has to offer, I don't think those other two games can completely fill that gap. So I think you're going to lose a lot of people that are the more casual players that don't care too much about that kind of stuff. They just want to do a fun raid that they enjoy with their friends. And they're the ones that are going to move over and do something in Lost Ark or Final Fantasy. Much more often, I would say. And I think obviously Heroic would be somewhere in the middle of those two.
That they are probably very large.
There's a lot of people.
The numbers then. Castle Nathria showed awesome promise. A total of 48,419 guilds defeated the first boss, while 35,509 of those managed to clear the rest of the raid on normal difficulty.
Well, it's also like, I mean, Castle Nathria, that's the one he's looking at right here, just so you guys can see it. Castle Nathria, a big factor there is that the end boss was really cool. Like, it was a really cool end boss. Everybody wanted to do it. And it also, like, on normal mode, it wasn't super, super, super fucking hard after, like, the first few days.
Difficulty, an 81.9% clear rate. That's pretty awesome when compared to BFA's Nyalotha. And that's where the optimism ends. It is actually only downhill from here on. Now, while the percentage of normal guilds that managed to clear Sylvanas came in at a stable 82%, the actual number of guilds that made up that percentage more than halved since Nathria, given the 48k.
You've got to keep in mind, like, Sanctum, like, at the beginning of Shadowlands, Sanctum of Domination was super, super, super late. That's actually why I moved over and started playing Final Fantasy. It's because there was no content in the game. I had just run out of things to do in the game. It's like, okay, I'm going to log on today. What do I want to do? Covenants are locked. I can't go do anything else. All the world content is just doing, you know, a PvP world quest, and then you log off. Who gives a fuck? Like, it was just awful. So I think that's a big reason, is that, like, you have to remember, like, the time frame between Castle Nathria and Sanctum of Domination was probably the longest time frame between the first and the second raid tier that, like, we've probably ever had. Maybe not, but I at least it felt that way to me. It was over a year, I thought. It was insane.
Ish guilds that managed to clear Nathria's first boss.
It wasn't a year.
Only 21,649 seemed to come back to clear the first boss of Sanctum.
Yeah.
That's a 55-ish% decrease in just one tier. So,
and yeah, it was also the lawsuit and everything like that too, right? Because, like, not only were a lot of people moving over to Final Fantasy at that time because of the content in Warcraft, but also, like, that lawsuit happened and, like, everybody was talking about how bad Blizzard was. So, like, that much of a decline makes a lot of sense whenever you put it into context of everything else.
Something that we'd actually never seen before. The next closest drop-off was back in BFA. Another very controversial expansion
It's
which
not even
saw
close.
a 40% drop in normal, going from Uldir to
It's like
Zackrawrr
60
lore.
in
Like
Castle
like
Nathria to Sanctum.
Sylvanas' numbers didn't fare much better either, also
Yeah.
seeing a 55% decrease when compared to Denathrius. Okay, after this 55% decrease in normal guilds, surely Sepulchre could turn it around. I mean, compared to all previous tiers of Shadowlands, Sepulchre looked the most promising of all, right?
Of
It was
course. I
full
mean, it's
of
gotta be
relatively
better.
alt-friendly features, no Korthia to grind, no Maw to grind, the return of tier sets, an exciting feature, and easy enough to obtain double legendaries. And of course, a chance
does
to
it mean?
finally put an end to the chuckler. Well, 9.2 almost certainly...
I think also, like, one of the factors of Sepulchre is that nobody cared about the outcome of the raid. Like, I only cared about it for, like, a fucking... like, some sick sense of being punished. Like, it was like masochism, the way that I cared about the raid tier. Like, at the end of it, I wanted it to be as bad as possible because I wanted to be punished as much as I could be for playing this fucking game. Like, nobody cared about the jailer. Who gives a fuck?
Another 9.1 style patch would have.
Morbid
It did
curiosity,
not manage to bring
yeah.
back enough players to see an increase in raid participation. This is the bit that's a little bit sad, because in fact, it was during Sepulchre that we saw even more record lows for guild participation. Among these new record lows was the normal guild clear percentage, dropping a staggering 68% from the previous average of 82% for Shadowlands thus far, meaning that this is the second lowest clear rate percentage recorded for normal since Legion, beating only by Nyalotha with 65.54%. So, long gone.
Keep in mind with Nyalotha, in order to kill the last two bosses, you had to have your cloak, and you also had to have the Heart of Azeroth, right? I guess everybody had the Heart of Azeroth, but you had to have the cloak. There were a lot of people out there who did not have the cloak, or for some reason they weren't able to do it. So that's a big reason why Nyalotha was so much lower. Not to mention it was also a much longer raid. And alts, yeah, things like that. People didn't have the cloak on every character. So with Sepulchre being at 68%, you have to think like that's only comparatively a little bit better than a raid that if you didn't have a legendary item, you literally couldn't kill the last boss.
Are the glory days of Legion, where the average guild clear rate was 90%.
Yeah.
This is normal mode, though. What about Heroic? Surely the more dedicated players of the game will be in Heroic. Well, let's take a look.
I actually assume that Heroic will probably have like the highest completion rate of normal, Heroic, and Mythic, but maybe not.
Well, Heroic shows a similar story. Shadowlands saw the lowest ever percentage of guilds achieving ahead of the curve in most of its tiers, in addition to the lowest overall guild participation,
Oh my God.
with the exception of the marvelously performing Castle Nathria. Digging into these numbers, we see the Nathria set a record in the number of guilds that started and finished a tier, but unfortunately this still translated into the lowest percentage seen for the number of guilds achieving ahead of the curve in recent history. Now, in a way that's not necessarily surprising though, because it actually follows the same trend that was seen during Uldir and BFA. Record high turnout for first boss kills, but a record low percentage of guilds actually making it through to that final boss. So, were the
so he's
final
comparing
three
the blue and the
bosses
red,
too
yeah.
much? I don't know, did Stone Legion generals and stuff kind of hold people back too long? I'm not sure, but I do
Well, you've got to remember, like, Stone Legion Generals on Heroic, like, it had, like, that chakram mechanic that, like, if you did it wrong, everybody died. Like, everybody around you died immediately. It was, like, an instantaneous, like, raid wipe mechanic that, like, melee players, random melee players, had to execute regularly throughout the entire duration of the fight. I'm sorry, but I think that's too hard of a heroic mechanic. Like, not only do you have two random people that get assigned to do a mechanic, but you also have it to where if they don't do that mechanic, not only do they die, but everybody else around them dies too. That is a brutal fucking mechanic on Heroic.
Remember people considering Nathria to be like a proper good little challenge. Now,
Yeah.
while Sanctum actually managed to see a slight increase in the percentage of guilds attaining Curve, which I think does make sense when you think about the relative difficulty compared to Nathria, the actual number of guilds plummeted. It plummeted from 42,778 in Nathria to 20,386 for Sanctum. That's a 52% decrease. For last boss kills, it was a 51% decrease.
Yeah,
Not
it's not a
only does the
surprise.
percentage decrease set a new record, but the number of guilds that managed to defeat Heroic Sylvanas at that time was the lowest ever for a Heroic end boss. The
It's
very
worse
least
than-
since Night.
That's crazy that it's worse than Gahoon Heroic. I remember doing Gahoon Heroic and it was fucking brutal. Yeah, this mechanic's gone in Season 4. That's good. Yeah, I think so. And it's because Sepulchre's dogshit raid expansion's not alt-friendly. I mean, like, I don't think that's the only... but, like, again, being alt-friendly, I think, matters. Was Legion alt-friendly? I feel like Legion was less alt-friendly than fucking, like, whatever this one is, Shadowlands was. I feel like Legion was substantially less alt-friendly. It's just that it was more fun to play, so people didn't care about playing their alts. I think that's what the difference was. And also, the Heroic raids were easier. Straight up, it was a lot easier to do Heroic Antorus than it is to do Heroic Sepulchre.
Hold. Now, if you think that Sanctum and Sylvanas, you think that's the end
Yeah.
of our record lows for Shadowlands, then you are gravely wrong. Although Sepulchre, while not perfect, was much more player-friendly when compared to previous tiers, both for new/alt players and engaged raiders, Heroic raid participation hit rock bottom. Only 13,279 guilds came back to clear just the first boss, compared to 20,386 for Sanctum. Sanctum itself...
I'm kind of surprised to see, Sepulchre having really low numbers, not really a big surprise. I'm surprised to see Eternal Palace. Like, I thought 8.2 and Ashara's Eternal Palace, I thought that was a good raid tier. Like, I had fun raiding that tier. It was good. I'm surprised that it was just so low. And also that Nilotha was such a massive improvement over it, even. That's crazy. Maybe it's just that, Ashara was really hard. That's a good point.
of course, was also a massive decline from Nathria.
Yeah.
When we go to the last boss figures, though, reality hits you. Only 8,010 guilds cleared Heroic Jailer. I mean, wow. While that's not too much lower than Heroic Sylvanas, these numbers are a huge cause for concern. Literally, where did everyone go? So,
I wonder.
Almost 2/3 of the guilds that managed to defeat Heroic Denathrius at the first tier of the expansion had left by the end of Sepulchre. Okay, some may have
Well, they
stopped-
also probably stopped raiding because, again, you can get the same gear from raiding, you can get the same gear from the raid in Mythic Plus in most cases, or in PvP. And, you only get marginally worse stats in PvP. So it's do you really want to go and put all this effort into it in order to get something that has one secondary stat better? How many people care about that? Basically fucking nobody, because what are you even going to use that gear for other than raiding? You see kind of what I'm saying? Is that's a big fucking factor. And I think that's why a lot of people also stopped raiding, is because there are other, better, more efficient alternatives of getting gear. And the reason why you saw more Heroic guilds completing it too is tier sets. People wanted to get tier sets. But you don't have to raid to get the tier set. You can just do the Catalyst Converter. So that's not even necessary. And Range Just Dead can get the same animal from Mythic Plus with 0 time commitment. Yeah, I mean, again, I think that the raids now are just, they're so hard that why would somebody invest 4 hours on a commitment level time? It's not I just go and I do the raid whenever I want. You show up at Tuesday at 8 p.m. to raid. And so if you have something else planned for Tuesday, well, you've got to not do that because you planned on raiding. I feel like that's just, if somebody is putting in that much time and effort, and then they log into the raid and they're filled with time-wasting mechanics and one-shot mechanics that kill the whole raid, and then you have to run all the way back every single time that happens. And like, yeah, maybe you usually have wipe protection, but like then it takes time to do the wipe protection. You have to rebuff, get food buff and everything like that, augment rune. It's like, ah, fuck. Like, think about how much time this is taking.
A bit late in or whatever, but you get
no
the point
wonder
here.
People aren't doing it.
Attrition is massive. Alarm bells surely must be ringing throughout Blizzard HQ. Okay, let's go and be productive. What caused this? And with Dragonflight, can we expect to see similar issues?
That looks cool.
Well, while not everything here was literally required, much of it was desirable for performance, and it did help to set a negative tone for this expansion.
What's that?
Okay, 9.0. Daily maw grinding, including daily quests, killing all rares, and the Eye of the Jailer mechanic, causing people to have to follow optimized routes.
Yeah.
This was all to get random conduit upgrade items and gem sockets, which all required Stygia. Conduit upgrades were random, starting at your lowest item level, and they could upgrade conduits that literally your spec isn't using. It's one of the most hostile player design decisions ever made. Torghast, of course, had to be ground out for legendaries, and this was the much worse than current original Torghast. Then we had the gold cost for those legendaries, pushing many people towards the WoW token. Okay, patch 9.1, time for it all to get... no, not good.
You thought that was bad? Well, guess what? Yeah, it got even worse. Exactly. How did Blizzard think people would find this fun? It's because Blizzard didn't listen to the players. And they're doing it again now with Dragonflight and Dragon Riding. Like, I'll tell you one thing, and this might sound stupid, but if they release Dragonflight without the buff to soar, and with no Dragon Riding out in the open world, I will have substantially less expectations for the entire expansion. Because I don't view this as a make it or break it feature, but I do view it as a mining canary. That if this is not something you're willing to compromise on and you can't see the player perspective for this, you don't understand the game. You fundamentally don't understand how the game works, how the game's played, how people consume content, and what people like doing. They just don't get it. So if you hold your ground on this, the only person that would do that is somebody who fundamentally misunderstands the way the game is played.
You have the insane Korthia grind of people killing every single rare, looting every single chest, and killing the max amount of relic dropping creatures, and doing all the quests every day for almost a month. That's what the Mythic Raiders, and maybe some of the more trying hard heroic raiders, felt they needed to do. That, of course, was to get revered and exalted with the Korthia faction so you could get gem sockets and conduit upgrades.
Yeah.
Stygian Embers then had to be farmed out for your shard upgrades, and of course you had to farm and pray for shard gear. You also had to farm Torghast for cinders, and of course shard gear would compete with legendary slots, meaning it was an utter hellscape of expensive recrafting. Patch 9...
So, I remember whenever the Shards of Domination came out, and I realized that they were only going to be in one tier, I never even learned the system. I have no idea how they work, I have no idea how they're upgraded, I have no idea about anything about them. I have no clue and I don't care. I don't want to know. It doesn't matter because it just happened and now it's gone. I think that's the way, that's the way a lot of people felt about it. Yeah, that's also whenever I took a break from the game and I was playing a lot more Final Fantasy, as I said. I think so. Now, again, I think one of the big problems is the fact that a lot of those systems had like no alt-friendly features to them. Like, for example, if you were able to get conduits, and like right now in Warcraft, like imagine if like, how many of you guys got the 278 conduit item that like learns all of your conduits to 278. Like I remember I got it because I got 2.4K, a bunch of other people, a lot of people have it now, right? Why is that not account wide? Why not just make every conduit for every class that you play and every character you play 278? Bro, you hit 2400. You're a fucking gladiator. What, do you have to farm your conduits for your alt again? Holy shit! Why? It is now. So it is? Wait, it's account wide now. Is that right? Not only that, but you earn on an alt, you have to do Zereth Mortis campaign to even buy them. They changed it. Good. It's 10k flux now. Why? That's the thing, is like a lot of the... Like, why? Why is it why not just immediately have it on your character? Why not just immediately learn it to your character? Why do we have to have this arbitrary time-wasting mechanism to just make people play the game more? Because I think that that's not what it does. Like, whenever, like, for example, I would play my DK more. I would play World of Warcraft more if I could just seamlessly play another character. But I can't do that, because there's so many secondary systems that don't have good account-wide functionality. Meanwhile, in Lost Ark or Final Fantasy, if I want to play another character, I just click a button. I just log out and log back in. Like, why do I have to do all of these extra, why do I have to jump through all of these hoops? And whenever I get to the hoops, I just say, fuck it, I'm tired, I don't want to do it. That's it. Why is Blizzard so anti-player with WoW? They're not anti-player, they're anti-alt. I don't understand. I think that the reason why is because some people at Blizzard, and I think also some players that are fans of Warcraft, have this weird idea, and it's like this predisposition that any reward in the game has to cost something, and anytime that you give a player an item, they have to earn that item by doing something else. And like, they have like this very antiquated view on how the game should reward players. And because of that, everything has to have some arbitrary time-wasting mechanism cost. Like, oh, it only takes an hour, it doesn't even matter. Well, if it only takes an hour and it doesn't even matter, why does it take an hour? Has anybody ever thought of this? Yeah, if it's so easy and nobody cares, then why does it exist? I'll be right back. Okay. We good. This raiding guild changed the end game. Some of these devs came to wait. Oh yeah, I might watch that at a certain point. But anyway, yeah, like what I'm saying is like a lot of the game, and this is kind of like what happens, is like I'll talk about this whenever I'm streaming WoW. And there'll be a lot of people that just go and they say like, oh, so you just want them to just give everything to everybody, and, well, like, cause they just, if you get this, I mean, fuck, you might as well just give them the whole game. Might as well just get them all the loot. We give them the vendor where you buy like fucking like the gear from the vendor, and it's like free, cause like, I mean, you make people, they don't have to, like, why can't you just farm it out? Like, it's just the dumb fucks that have, like, they've only played World of Warcraft. They've never tried any other game. They don't see how there are literally half a dozen other games that compete with World of Warcraft that don't have these arbitrary time restrictions and these arbitrary time-wasting mechanisms, and they're doing just fine. It's like a WoW brain. Like, they only play WoW, so they look at everything in the game only in the lens of WoW. Not anything else. Not like what it could be. Nothing abstract at all.
0.2 was a lot better, but it still had some issues. Bosses were tuned a lot higher than what players had previously been used to, with many bosses including punishing binary pass-fail mechanics that hindered progress. Then tier sets and double legendaries, those were essentially mandatory for the later bosses, which was troublesome in terms of tuning. Double legendaries were gated behind a quest that took weeks to complete. Of course, that was, after the raid was open. And then the creation catalyst opened on week 8, which many people, Blizzard themselves actually, think was too late. Ouch. I think you can see how player friction was a staple of this expansion.
Well, keep in mind, Bellior, this is artificial player friction. Because player friction is like whenever you join a group and you get kicked out because they want to bring in their friend. Or you have a bad experience with a group and you keep wiping and then so you leave or they kick you out. Like, that's player friction. Or like there's like a bunch of people trying to farm a mob. That's what it is. This is not what it is. It's not player friction. It's just bullshit that they added into the game for no fucking reason. And also, like, again, the creation catalyst should have been in the game on the first day. And you should have been able to just do one a week. It's like, what would that have done? Like, so, like, what's the logic? Oh, well, after people get their tier set, they're going to quit the game? Oh, well, I guess... Isn't that a problem in itself? Like, you know what I mean? Like, isn't that kind of like, I don't know, if that's the problem, then maybe you should look at that and not trying to make it harder for people to get the tier set. Produce perception is everything now. How well balanced something is on paper. Waste perceived content, so it dictates quality and enjoyment. Yeah, I think so. And that's what happens. It's like people always perceive things as being harder or easier, and a lot of those opinions are crafted by high-end players. You're right about that. But I think also, like, it does come down to individual, like, itemized minutes and hours spent in the game. And I think that if you look at the itemized minutes and hours spent in the game, there is a lot of wasted time.
And was not helpful. These designs encouraged, or designed anyway, to encourage people to play more aspects of the game instead. And while we cannot literally causally prove this in a scientifically rigorous way, they do certainly correlate with data that shows diminishing player counts, which then you can mix in with data that, yes, is anecdotal, but generally has been quite large and persistent about the game being fictitious. Of course, there are some Mythic-specific aspects as well, and you can check out our Mythic video for that. But next, I want to talk about parse counts, because I did tease a bit of a classic versus modern thing, and, well, honestly, shit's insane.
Yeah, the Warcraft log differences between heroic and, between normal and, retail and classic are insane. You guys are going to see this.
Alright, let's get to the fun. So one of the things with these Warcraft logs numbers is they actually don't entirely match up with the guild participation peaks and dips, so there's not necessarily a correlation. For example, there was a peak in guild raid participation in Uldir, but the number of parses recorded in Warcraft logs saw a decline. So just interesting quirks of data.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing private logs.
There could be many other
then.
Quirks of data here,
I remember
which,
that.
to be honest, was in the original version of the script, but we'd be going on for like 5 minutes. So I'm just going to rocket you through to the big comparison that people have been making, and that is classic versus retail parse counts. Here we go. So, while Warcraft logs parses in classic TBC looked to have quite a slow start, albeit still having over 1.6 million parses in the first phase, things really started to pick up during the later phases. During phase 2.5, when Serpent Shrine Cavern and Tempest Keep were released into the game, Warcraft logs saw a total of 8 million parses be recorded.
That's a lot.
In the following phase then, when Mount Hyjal and Black Temple were added to the game, this number soared to 15.4 million.
Isn't that crazy that, like, TBC, it seems like it actually, it doubled in raiding population from SSC to tier 6? That's nuts. How? What the fuck? Do you want to know why? It's because the game is not ridiculously punishingly hard. You just go in there and you can, you do it. It's not that bad. It's easy. I think that's the big reason. The raids are fun. It's fun to do.
Now compare this to current retail, where the last few tiers have barely broken 2 million, and you do begin to ask yourself just how many people are actually playing Classic TBC when compared to retail. It's hard to say. Well, Classic TBC has seen some dips following Phase 3. It still managed to record over 2.7 million for Phase 3.5 to 4 during the Zolaman release, and over 9.5 million parses in Phase 5, which is when Sunwell Plateau was added.
That's a lot.
Now, the last time that Retail WoW exceeded 9 million parses across all difficulties of a given tier on Warcraft logs was back during Legion in both Nighthold and Sargeras, which had 14.4 million and 9.3 million parses recorded respectively. The closest that we've seen to those figures was during BFA's final raid, Nyalotha, and Shadowlands' first, Castle Nathria, each recording between 8.1 and 8.3.
And also, I will say that at the beginning of Shadowlands, it was generally fun to play my warrior, and at the end of BFA, it was generally fun to play my warrior. I think that there's also a huge correlation between the game being fun to play and people playing the game. Like, if it feels good to play your class, you can do a bunch of cool, crazy shit, then you're going to have a lot of people playing it.
3 million parses. Now, let's not forget, though, that these numbers don't entirely correlate to the active, to the number of active players or guild participation figures. It's literally just a parse count. But, generally, if more people are playing, you would imagine that there would be more parses. Another little interesting factoid, too, is Classic TBC is absolutely humongous in China. I suspect in a way that Modern WoW isn't. Of course, it's an absolutely ginormous
I've heard
country,
the same thing.
So you would imagine that a lot of them would be inflating up the Classic TBC numbers in a way where they wouldn't exactly be impacting the modern game numbers. Overall, then, if you want my opinion in this, I've got to say, I think it's fairly simple, right? And it could actually be worse than this data shows. I know that might sound mad to you, but...
in my opinion, I think it's just because the game's not fun to play whenever you have to constantly wait for the dumbest person in the raid to figure it out. Like, I don't know, it's not fun. It's fucking annoying. And I bet, like, one of the reasons why Sunwell was that much lower, how many of you guys did Sunwell back in the day? Whenever you had some fucking dumbass that, like, remember you would get Conflag on the Twin Eridar, and somebody would not move out. All they had to do was move, and they wouldn't do it, and it would kill the whole group, and it's a fucking wipe. I remember this shit happened. I watched videos of it on Warcraft movies. People were fucking furious. Still happens. Still fucking happens. Sunwell has a lot more, like, individual point of failure things that can happen that wipe the entire raid. That's one of the big differences between Sunwell and BT and Hyjal. Like, for example, like in Hyjal, like, oh, you don't use Tears of the Goddess at the right time on our command? Well, you're dead. That's too bad. If you, let's see. You attack the second phase of Reliquary of Souls. You attack it too much with the reflect damage? Well, you're dead. Your character's dead. That's it. Right? Or like somebody doesn't do the interrupt? Well, then you know exactly whose fault it is. You see kind of what I'm saying here? Is like these kinds of things happen, and that's how it gets caused. Yeah, you had Terran Gorefiend? You did. And Terran Gorefiend was a headache because of that exact thing.
Remember that slide from the FF14 developers about, kind of the quiet majority will just sort of wander away and lose interest in your game first before you start to hear the vocal people? So we were using guild kills. Now, guilds are going to be more active players, right?
Guilds will be more resistant to trends because people are tied to the game with something that is it's external from the game. It's like they have a group of friends that play the game, so that's why.
guild player is probably going to be more sticky, more likely to stay around because they got
Yeah.
friends to play with.
It's like what I said
So
with
guild numbers falling is absolutely terrifying.
RP realms.
But another thing that's really terrifying to me is all the people who aren't in a guild and maybe just pug and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What are the silent losses of modern World of Warcraft? I mean, we don't really have a way to quantify that. I do think the game is healthiest when our guild numbers are going up, though.
I think that, so like a really great example of this was at the end of Wrath. I remember I was on Kel'Thuzad server at the end of Wrath. Kel'Thuzad was like known for being the asshole server. Like if you were on Kel'Thuzad, people would automatically assume you were a dickhead, and I knew that, and I did my best to uphold our reputation as much as we could. The fact is, there were so many people on KT back then. Everybody was playing on the server. Like, there were millions of, not millions, it was like probably dozens, probably hundreds of ICC 25-man heroic raids going on. Like, whether it's GDKP or rolls or loot council or some shit, pugs going on constantly in Wrath. And then whenever Cataclysm came out, bro, like, those raids were fucking hard. You couldn't pug them anymore. Like, going from, like, I don't know, like, face rolling on Lord Marigar to doing Omnitron Defense Squad. Fuck that. And people quit. That's, I think, a huge reason why people quit is like, oh, I can't pug anymore. I can't play the game. I have to be in a guild. I don't have time for a guild. That's what happened. It was just too fucking hard.
Now, I did say I would talk about Dragonflight in the context of
PW was
today's
impossible.
video
Yeah.
because my mission here is to see how WoW is actually performing. It's not to shit on
That's
it.
whenever people start
it's
quitting.
not to tell people not to play it. It's to see what's actually happened.
Yeah.
And then we got to talk about Dragonflight. And this is potentially where news could get a bit better for us.
Okay.
When talking about the reasons, at least the hypothesized reasons for these declines, it was basically all player friction, right? Now, when I look at the current design of Dragonflight, it seems to not only be more alt-friendly than Shadowlands, it seems to be radically more alt-friendly than Shadowlands.
It should be.
The borrowed power stuff isn't there. That means that at a fundamental level, to be able to just hop into this endgame instanced content, all you'll really need to do is to make your character, level them up, fill out their talents, and get gear.
That's all it should be. I am totally okay with like end game progression systems like corruption, like the essences in BFA. I think those are good. But what I don't think is good is having to do them twice. I think that it feels really good, personally for me. I'm speaking from my personal experience. It felt really good. Within Torghast, I would level up my tower knowledge and I would get better and I would get the perks and I'd get more of them every week. But I will never do that on an alt. I will never fucking do that on an alt, ever. And that's what the difference is. I think it was cool to do the first time, to have something to level up, to feel good, that you can log on and work at it every single week and make progress on it off of raid time, just on your own. I think that's cool. But having to do that on more than one character is too much.
It really doesn't seem like there'll be a whole bunch of external bullshit to grind. And
Yeah,
the
that's
idea
a
of the
good thing.
creation catalyst is something that Blizzard said they would like to continue going forward, but that they would unlock it a bit earlier in the tier as compared to the creation catalyst on week.
I don't see why they don't just unlock it at the beginning. Like, why? Or like the week after. Like, why are we waiting 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 5 weeks? Why? Just to make it take longer? For what reason? People just want to get their tier sets. Like, it really sucks at the beginning of a patch, right? It really, really sucks whenever, like, somebody gets their tier set bonus and you don't. And you feel like shit. I remember this has happened to me many, many times. And then, like, it can create, like, a fucking, like a domino effect. Like, why not just let people get their tier sets?
Gate. So these things do actually give me quite a strong degree of hope for the next expansion. Ultimately, with Shadowlands, I think we see that where a lot of things were very powerful in the Legion expansion, I think we see that Battle for Azeroth and Shadowlands misunderstood the role of friction, I suppose is a way to put it, or coercement into doing content in the overall design of World of Warcraft. And they misjudged that to the degree that a lot of people felt pushed away from the game.
Yeah.
At least from my own personal perspective, it's absolutely no surprise that I'm having a blast in Season 4 as compared to prior seasons of the game. Season 4, a time where the game feels a lot less fictitious, a lot more opened up, and I feel like I'm more able to just hop into some content and have
You can
fun.
do what you want.
Pretty interesting.
Like, you don't want to put barriers in front of people being able to play the game the way they want. Like, this is not some weird cock and ball torture thing. Nobody wants this.
Situation. Hopefully Blizzard will have learned the lessons required to not reproduce these issues and these large declines again, because ultimately I think we would all like World of Warcraft to be really strong and healthy.
It'd be great.
Could you imagine a time where World of Warcraft has more frequent patches, as Ian has said they intend to do, and we're in a situation where, if you're anything like me, every 4 months you get a fantastic FF14 patch, maybe every 3 or 4 months you get you get a WoW patch, maybe a fantastic one even. As a player of MMORPGs who really wants to like both games, that is an absolute dream scenario. And I suppose, while I definitely would say don't pre-order, I will say, here's to hoping that that good future comes to pass. So that's it.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, obviously a lot of people, even this is true with a lot of Final Fantasy players, as many of them are current WoW players. There's a huge amount of people that just play whichever game has new content, whether that's Final Fantasy or WoW. So, like, a lot of those people are like, yeah, I hope WoW's good because I play WoW. Well, I thought you played Final Fantasy. Yeah, I do. You just play both games, right? It's not that big of a deal. Yeah, I play both and enjoy both. Yeah, exactly. And so that's what many people do. And I think also, like, there's other games too. Like, I mean, people might do WoW and League, or, Final Fantasy and Lost Ark or something like that. Most people, I think, right now are playing more than one game.
For me today, a thank you to Masterworks for sponsoring today's video. If you would like to skip their waitlist, the link is down below. And thanks to you for watching.
This is a good video. I love graphs.
If you have
we love graphs.
Personal story to shed a human light, a human angle to the decreases we've seen, do share it down below. Because this isn't just...
Well, I'll give my personal story. This was in BFA. My mom farmed the Draenor flying. And then she farmed Legion flying. And they had her do it again for BFA, and she said, nope, I'm done. I already did this. I don't want to do it again. It's just a arbitrary amount of hoops for me to jump through, and I'm done with it. Stop making people do the same stupid shit over and over and over. It's tiresome.
It's going down. This is groups of friends breaking up, groups of friends wandering off to new places. I'm sure there's a lot of stories in that. I'm sure the sort of stories that
she never came back to the game either.
Interesting to hear. Okay.
After that, she just took a break, stopped playing.
See you next time.
And like, keep in mind, like, her taking a break and not playing, she had played WoW at that point since vanilla WoW. She was level 60 in vanilla WoW. And she quit during BFA. Think about that. That's what it was. Yeah, she played all the way through WoD. She played all the way through Legion. And she said, fuck that, I'm done. That's what it was. Damn shame. Yeah, I know, exactly. And you're going to do a Reddit recap, posted something on New Tab. I might look at that. I was going to look at... Let me link the Bellular video. I think this was a very good video. I liked it a lot. Again, yeah, she mentioned after that, yeah, she talked about coming back to the game, but then it just never really happened. That's about it. And yeah, I mean, I think this was a pretty good video. I liked it a lot, and I thought it went, it covered a lot of things that were important. People play more than one game. Not many games are so complete in the user size as they used to be. Well, I think there's also more competition now. That's another big factor. And yeah, I hope that Blizzard tries to make the game fun again. And, like, stop thinking about what, you know, like, trying to put barriers in front of players. Just let people play the game and do what they want in the game whenever they log on. Stop trying to make people do something. Stop trying to put some wall in the way that they have to climb over, break through, or tunnel underneath. Stop doing it. Just let people play the fucking game. That's it. Fun. Yes. Imagine that. Yeah. Fun. Give me 1 second. We'll take a look at this. Blizzard has responded. New legendary crest. Here we fucking go. Someone say the same applies to PoE. I agree with that. Yeah, I think it's true. 1 sec. Okay, we're going to 1,000% value now? Yeah, probably a little bit less than that. Izzy's computer is messed up, so I'm trying to help her fix it. Or give her a suggestion. Okay, here we go. Let's look at it. Blizzard responded, new legendary crest. Here we go.
What's going on, guys? This is JT here. I'm sure most of you guys know I made a video yesterday talking about a new orange crest, and we weren't exactly sure what that crest was going to do, right?
Yeah.
I personally was thinking like, all right, they're coming out with a new orange crest. This is most probably a new crest for a ton of new gems, which I do believe will come out in the future. And honestly, I wouldn't be mad if new gems did come out. I think it's good for the game to have a variety of multiple different things that you can use as far as gems,
yeah, you have to
right?
give people things
so
to
this
farm.
is what the picture looked like. This is what the crest looked like.
We
I saw
this
in the game files, and I'm like, dude, they're coming out with a new crest. What is this crest going to be? Well, I also made a post on Reddit about this crest as well and posted my video link, and we got a response from the man himself. It is Wyatt Ching, the lead designer for Diablo Immortal, and here's what he has to say about the orange crest. So he says, hey all, this is artwork that we're working on to help differentiate the legendary crest, which will become to orange one. So what he's saying here is the legendary crest that are soul bound, it basically makes, whenever you use a legendary crest in the game in an Elder Rift, that crest is then soul bound to your account. So now that crest is actually going to turn orange. So he says,
it looks
from
different.
The eternal legendary crest, which will remain the purple one in the middle, that yields gems can be sold on the market. So the eternal legendary crest will remain purple. The regular legendary crest will turn orange. We want to make sure players know exactly what they're getting when they make a purchase. View them in inventory and use them at Elder Rift entrance. You know, in my opinion, this is very important.
Yeah, this is a good thing.
Well, because whenever you go into an Elder Rift and you use some legendary crest and then some eternal legendary crest, it becomes a massive issue because then you end up dropping, let's say, a really good 5-star gem that you actually want to sell in the market instead of using. You're actually unable to do that because it is bound to your account. I've actually had it happen to me on all of my accounts, my wizard and also my barbarian, and it sucked when that happened. I'm like, dadgummit, I forgot I had a regular legendary crest in there. Now the 5-star I dropped is now soul bound to the account, and I don't even need it, and I can't sell it, right? So that's basically the issue that players run into. So he says players should be able to distinguish the two quickly, not only by color but also by shape for the colorblind. We did some usability tests earlier this month to ensure they can be understood clearly during normal gameplay, such as when shrunk down to smaller.
Isn't this like crazy though? Like, and like obviously, so like the change is good. Shout out to Blizzard for doing this. But like, when did this game come out? Like, people brought this to light within the first week of the game coming out, and they have to do usability tests to make sure that people are able to see it for being colorblind. You see kind of what I'm saying is, like, this is why I think a lot of AAA games are dying. It's because, like, the amount of, think of it as like a really, really big ship. And if you're trying to turn a really, really big ship, it's going to take a long time. But if you're trying to turn, you know, like a small, you know, like a, I don't know, a longboat or like a canoe, it's easy to move it around and change it based off of what people want. And I think this is one of the big problems that AAA studios, and I think Blizzard is probably like one of the worst offenders of this, are running into, is that they have all of these like arbitrary red tape problems that they run into because they keep hitting their own walls. They're putting up walls in front of themselves. How is it that it takes 2 months to change an icon? That's insane. Like, if you compare that to grinding gear games, like, obviously the most recent league was a complete clusterfuck. It was an absolute disaster, and it was probably the biggest drama that PoE has ever had. And you know what happened? They fixed it. They fixed a lot of stuff. Not everything, but a lot of stuff has been fixed. Let's be honest. 90% of it, 80% of it was been fixed in a week. How is it that PoE can fix all of these modifiers, all of these things, everything in less than a week, but it takes Blizzard 2 months, more than 2 months, to change an icon? It's insane. It's absolutely fucking insane. Why I don't understand this. Yeah, Obnoxious been compared with Better Blizzard. Yeah, I mean it's nuts. It's Carbine. I can't see most of the projectiles mobs, and they care for crests. I don't know what to say there. And realistically, all they had to do, GG had to do, was change a few number values. So realistically, all they had to do is change a few number values. And what do you think these guys have to do? What do you think they have to do? Like, how hard do you think it is really to change an icon? It's a picture. Like, I mean, it's a PNG. Like I don't know. I'm not a game developer, right? But I'm assuming that there's like a box, and like any picture is programmed to go in that box if it fits a certain aspect ratio and resolution. So I'm assuming you probably just change the PNG file in the game files, and then it's just automatically fixed. Like, I mean, I've done HTML. I've never made a game before. Maybe it's some super complicated thing that, you know, it takes 2 months of testing and focus grouping for. But you guys see kind of what I'm saying is like how these AAA game studios, especially Blizzard, they're so big. And like New World had this same problem. It's like New World, all they had to do was change a few numbers, and they couldn't do it for months. Like, I think that people, this is a W change, but it's not a capital letter. We've been waiting for this. Like, whether it's this one, like, I don't care about this. I quit Diablo Immortal a long time ago. I'm not playing that shit anymore. But the people that are playing the game care about it. And it is deceptive. It's obviously deceptive. And by the fact that they're changing it, it implies that people got confused, right? So very clearly it is deceptive and confusing. So let's see some changes ahead of time next time. Please stop taking so long to fix problems. It's nuts, man. But it needs to follow the procedure. Well, nobody cares about the procedure. You think a player cares about the procedure? If the procedure for the game ends up being a detriment or some sort of handicap to the game being developed, then nobody cares about the procedure. Like, why do we players care about the procedure? Like, what procedure? I remember this is like my dad. One time we went to KFC, and my dad wanted to order a pot pie, and this dipshit behind the counter told my dad it would be 81 minutes until he got his pot pie. 81 fucking minutes. Apparently that guy stopped working at KFC, got hired at Blizzard. He works on Diablo Immortal now. It's nuts. Yeah, he was fucking furious.
sizes for new players. In addition, we're adding the market icon to the item description to Eternal Legendary Crests to reinforce the difference. As part of the update, we'll also change the Elder Rift entrance UI so you can choose which one you want to use if you own both, as well as easily see. That is amazing, and that is exactly what they needed to do. I'm glad our boy Wyatt came through.
It's what they needed to do 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Like I'm not gonna, like, it's like, this is good, right? I mean, obviously, good job, Blizzard, you're finally doing it. But, like, I don't want to give props for something that's taken this long for such a minor change. You look at other games and, like, look how these other games are getting content released constantly. Look how fast they're developing content for Lost Ark, for example. It's night and day difference. It's unacceptable.
And actually cleared this up. So no new gems, boys. No new crest. As far as new things coming to the game with the next update, I'm sure I still can pretty much promise you at some point in the future we will see new legendary gems. And like I said, I think it's good for the game. I don't think it's a bad thing if we see new legendary gems in the future. Hopefully we do. Anyway, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and hopefully you guys are having as much fun with Diablo Immortal as I am. Peace out, fellas.
Well, at least he's having fun, and that's good. You know, I mean, I'm glad. I'm not going to tell somebody they're having a bad time having fun. Good for him. I always feel like an asshole whenever I say stuff like this, because it's like, yeah, Blizzard is doing a good thing, but, like, am I crazy for thinking that, like, it's unreasonable that it took so long? It's nuts, man. Yeah, his eyes are dead. He's having fun? No, I think he's having fun. He's being paid to say this. Is what you meant? No, people like different games. Like, I don't understand why people like FIFA. I don't understand it. I remember, like, I played FIFA one time with Nick and, like, Miz, and all I did was kick the ball into our own goal. And my enjoyment of the game was centered entirely around making Nick and Miz mad. I could never play that game and actually just have fun with the game. Like, I could watch the game, sure, but, like, I would never want to play it. It's nuts. Now, sports, I hate sports games. Yeah, exactly. I'm the same way. It's crazy, man. So anyway, all I'm saying is, like, I just really hope that they're able to fix these problems earlier and not take 2 months to fix a picture. Yeah, that's about all I've got there. And that's why I think that we're seeing so many of these indie studios, especially now with, you know, the accessibility of Unreal 5. You're seeing a lot of games come out that are made by these smaller studios that have a tremendous impact. I think that's why it's happening. Let's see if I can find this here. Where was it? It's this one here. So YouTube is getting sued. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but YouTube is actually getting sued, and I'm kind of curious about this to see what's actually going to happen. It's a lot of tabs. Yeah, I know. And this is, unfortunately, there's not really a lot. Oh, there's a little bit here. Okay. Let's watch this. This is from Upper Echelon Gamers. He does a lot of good videos. I like them. So we're going to watch it and see what it is. Here we go. The Greek video.
Okay. Believe it or not, this is one of the most highly requested topics I've ever had on the channel, period.
Yeah,
I've
I would assume that.
20 at least, more like 30 maybe, or so messages about this lawsuit. Requests to cover it, DMs, emails, Patreon messages, locals messages, Discord, even my Twitter, which most of you probably barely even know of since I got permabanned. You name it, I got it. People were reaching out on that platform. As a result, here I am covering it. However, I need to say this before we actually dive in. A lot of people may not like what I'm about to say.
Good.
At first, I was kind of all in for this. The idea of YouTube being corrupt, a larger creator setting precedent by fighting back, and even the added drama of a conspiracy on top of it all. Yeah, color me interested. But the more I looked at things, the more I realized just how not that it really is. Ultimately, I find myself thinking that this is completely overblown, dramatized, and a likely, hopefully, forgettable instance of maybe borderline copyright infringement and nothing else.
Okay.
The most meaningful thing that we will certainly get from all this is whether or not parallax image animations of public domain photos are copyrighted works. Parallax animations, for those that don't know, can be made when you take a photograph, touch it up, strip it apart into layers, and then make those layers move a little bit independent from each other. It's a way to give images depth of field, and every single graphic design or animation college major will learn this in, like, Intro to Animation 101.
Yeah.
I say that because I learned it in a freshman college course. You can do some cool things with it, I guess, but we're not talking about rocket science with this. Anyway, the point here is not the technical details of the copyright case, or even the impact that this case might have, which is hopefully minimal under the best circumstances, and severely damaging for all of us actual creators under the worst outcome. We're not talking about a landmark issue to help creators on this, or something on the scale of H3H3 versus Matt Hosen's-ID, or even Hughes versus Benjamin. These
which, by the way, H3H3 didn't really make any impact. You still have people filing false copyright shit all the time.
YouTuber lawsuits where fair use precedent was established and is now often referenced or referred to. Instead, the point is to discuss the absolutely absurd, nearly unhinged idea that YouTube is, quote, YouTube's, quote, intentional efforts to undermine the United States of America in collusion with the Russian government, end quote.
I think that would be a lot. That's hard for me to assume. I would watch the original video about why the guy's suing YouTube. It's just that the video is so long, I'm not going to do it. That's the only reason I haven't.
Context. All of this starts when RT Arabic, a substantial branch of Russia Today, which is affiliated with the Russian government, that is to say it is state-sponsored media.
Yes.
It all starts when RT Arabic uploaded a couple of videos with snippets of a parallax animation by Business Casual, another channel. That animation had been altered in a couple of ways, such as desaturating the color, removing a watermark, or so they claim, adding music, and a couple other visual effects, and it was also a very short amount of footage. That being said, it was custom animation footage that had been crafted by the Business Casual team. I hear them on this. And as a result, they demanded that the videos be taken down. This part is probably the most clear-cut. RT Arabic says, we didn't infringe on your copyright after the notices were filed. Business Casual says, yes, you did. And they go to court. Okay, cool. Who cares? Not a soul. One very interesting thing, though. Just listen to this.
After ripping our video from our channel, RT then used a digital eraser to scrape off our watermark, which they replaced with their own watermark. But they didn't stop there.
Yeah, that's just flat out not true. The watermark they refer to is the standard YouTube insert that is a clickable overlay. It's there for any large channel you watch. I have it right now on the bottom.
So it's like this thing right here? Is that what he's saying? Yes, it's that. Oh, well. Okay.
This video, you can see it right there. But if you download the video, it's gone. Business Casual very early on claimed.
Well, that's a two-part thing, because the first part is did they remove their watermark, and the second part is did they insert their own. So was Business Casual's watermark removed, and the Russia Today insert here was just in front of it? You see what I'm saying? How, like, these are two completely different things. Yes, okay, all right, we'll see what happens.
Claims that they used a digital eraser to get rid of their watermark, replacing it with their own, but that is categorically untrue.
Right.
And started me off very early on with a severe amount of skepticism. The real interesting part comes when Business Casual decides that they're not just going to sue RT. Actually, they're suing TV Novosti, which is the company that runs the channel. They're going to sue YouTube as well. Here's the kicker. They are suing YouTube for a couple of reasons, but chief among them, they are suing YouTube for failing to terminate all of RT's different channels completely. This is where it devolves. I'm not going to make a 2-hour video hashing through every single thing.
That's a lot.
Thing that Business Casual says, or ways that they get the law wrong in their own nearly 2-hour
Ukraine should have done this.
Because a good amount of it is actually legit. It passes the sniff test, some parts of it, and it indicates that YouTube needs to be way better at communication and enforcement. But as I explored the case, a few things became very clear. First, Business Casual spends a...
I've always had the perspective that as soon as you see one in continuity, like, or like one lack of continuity. Like, you see like one thing where this is not true, I immediately assume that everything else is bullshit. Everything else is at least suspect to being bullshit.
Hefty amount of time attacking the new policy that RT is allowed to have over 30 copyright strikes in a year without being subjected to a complete purge from the platform. But this entire section is deceptive. RT itself has over 30 channels, which would mean that enforcement of a parent company operating 30 channels independently from one another, globally, based in separate countries, managed by different companies with different teams of people, such as TV Novosti, would mean that YouTube enforces a policy where a collective containing dozens of channels is only allowed a tiny fraction of one copyright strike per channel per set period, making it infinitely harder than it currently is for them to actually operate the business. One of your branches has one issue with copyright from one employee and posts 3 videos in, let's say, a short time frame with a few seconds of footage from someone else. Tough shit. Your entire network is permanently banned from the...
Yeah, obviously that's disproportionate. That's ridiculous and disproportionate. It makes no sense. I don't think anybody should agree with that. I think the only people that are agreeing with it, they're only agreeing with it circumstantially because they think that Russia Today is bad.
Platform. Does this guy even hear himself? Next, I ran into the implicit argument that Business Casual makes, where YouTube is undermining the United States of America in collusion with the Russian government for profit. He says that this is made possible because they have no competition, which is a bad thing. Them not having any competition is bad. I can agree on that. And that their reputation is worth far more than the money that RT generates, or the business that they do.
Should we watch this whole video?
Further expanding with a specific mention that RT earns almost $1 million a month from its 39 channels.
Wow.
Let's expand on that. Yeah, YouTube blocked the advertising of state-funded media from Russia months ago. In February of 2022, they struck down the monetization abilities of RT, meaning that YouTube does not earn money from that channel in an overt way. And RT is not earning $1 million a month from their 39 channels.
Well, not only do they not earn money, but they actually have to spend money. Because hosting that content for that many people to watch it, that's millions of dollars that are going out the door. Like, so Google is actively losing money by hosting the content. Now, you could make the argument that the content is a attraction to the website and they will make it up in the aggregate by getting people to watch other videos after that are monetized. You can make that argument, and I think that is a sound argument, but it is not a guarantee. The guarantee is that they are losing money directly from not having it be monetized.
More deception. Now, one could argue that they still benefit as a result of traffic, but wait a second, because YouTube also suspended all monetization in Russia as a result of the war in Ukraine, and blocked RT channels specifically on a global scale for the exact same reason. How could it be that they're taking RT's side and working with the Kremlin to damage America if they're blocking all of the Russian state-sponsored media and globally and demonetizing it and all sorts of other things? Like,
I find that to be a very strong argument. I think that that's a very strong argument. Like, how are they siding with Russia if they banned the Russian state-sponsored media? I think that's a very strong argument that makes the Business Casual lawsuit look stupid.
Someone please explain that to me.
RT is Russia Today.
Haven't we been fighting as creators for less copyright enforcement on YouTube for years? Haven't we been trying to avoid a plague of copyright trolls who are able to easily execute malicious copyright enforcement against individual creators? Now this guy says YouTube is supporting the Kremlin as it destroys America, and suddenly everyone is gung-ho to try and expand the severity of enforcement on copyright.
Well, I think that also it's not that. It's that people, it's the same thing as like a lot of other situations. People will cheer and clap and be so happy that something bad happens to somebody that they don't like. It's like whenever somebody gets beat up, because they were an asshole at you know, like a restaurant or something like that. People in the comments will be, you know, fucking like, oh, this is so great, this is happening. You know, I'm glad somebody beat the shit out of this guy, right? Like, it's the only reason why people are happy about business casual suing YouTube is because people have a bad impression of YouTube right now, and people in general distrust YouTube and to a greater extent distrust Google, which owns YouTube. So that's the reason why. It's not actually based on the information that's being shown. It's based off of people's predisposition. Now, I might watch the whole video because I find this interesting. Not today, but I'll watch it maybe in a couple of days. But the fact is, like, yeah, I don't see any sense of legitimacy with this. And also, I think that it's ridiculous. Like, you know, get rid of the laws. Like, let's just ignore the laws. Does it seem reasonable that a person should have, a network should have 39 of their channels removed because they uploaded something that, and also, like, again, I find this to be kind of odd. It's like whenever you use a third party tool, sometimes, especially whenever it makes modifications like animation and, like, you know, changing layering, etc. My understanding is, like, many of those actually do have partial ownership of the images after that has taken part, and some of them enforce that ownership by making sure they have a watermark on them or something else. So I don't know about this exactly, but I will say that it is suspect whether they owned the copyright to it in its entirety in the first place. But let's assume they did. Is it proportional for somebody to have all of their content removed off of all of their channels internationally because they violated somebody's copyright by using a clip for a few seconds? No, it's not. This is not proportional, it's not reasonable, and it's stupid. Like, I, in general, think that the United States copyright laws are draconian. I think they are draconian. I think they are unfair, and I think that they are just done. They are made to benefit companies like Disney and Universal Media, and they are not for the best interest of the public. They're just simply not in the best interest of the public. So I have no interest in enforcing these kinds of things unless it is a gratuitous like abuse.
Right? So that even multi-channel owners can be permabanned across all of their different channels for a few instances where they used tiny little snippets of a video after he deceived everyone by claiming that they used a digital eraser to remove a watermark that never existed. What the fuck? Business Casual is just hardcore aiming at the court of public opinion here.
Yes.
Maybe he has a case on those 3 copyright strikes, and maybe
he should win. And also, like, for the record, like, everything that people have told me about this case has been in Business Casual's favor. Everybody's like, man, dude, YouTube's getting sued, bro. It's gonna happen. They're gonna get fucked. And, like, I bet a lot of those people don't really know what happened either. You know, they just heard that YouTube is siding with the Russian government. That's it.
In his argument against fair use, because that is what he is arguing, he's arguing against fair use and would set precedent where a few seconds of background footage from 3 videos could be used to terminate every channel that a company owns or is associated with.
It's an outrageous overreach.
This entire video, almost 2 hours, with individual shots from multiple separate days. We can glean this, by the way, from looking at dates in various article publication timelines throughout the video and then comparing them to the date right now.
Yeah.
While also, as per his own words at the end, rewriting it at least 100 times. That's a 2-hour nearly video with a script, and he rewrote it 100 times. All of this happened while his lawyers were requesting not 1, not 2, but 3 different extensions, that they be granted 2-week extensions for health reasons. June 3rd, plaintiff has suffered a flare-up of a chronic medical condition and needs 2 more weeks. June 21st, we hope this is the final 2-week extension. Plaintiff got COVID and needs 2 more weeks. August 16th, plaintiff is in agonizing pain and cannot function. 2 more weeks requested. But that very same day, and mind you, they're saying that this is so severe that they simply cannot file documents. They can't write anything, like, he can't function. Nothing can happen, right? Total shutdown. But the very same day, August 16th, is when Business Casual releases their 2-hour video, scripted allegedly 100 times from his own mouth, filmed and shot on numerous different days in multiple locations with skits and sketches and actors and whatever else, claiming that YouTube is subverting America in league with the
See, this is one of the cases where, like, you can obviously make sense out of that. You know, the guy's been sick. It's like, how many of you guys, it's like, you get sick a few times in like short succession, and in between those times you're partying, you're chilling, you're having fun, and then you get sick again. Or maybe it was recorded a month or two ago and they're just doing all the editing for it because it's such a long video. You can make sense out of the fact that he is uploading a video that seems to be recorded recently, and despite the fact that he's saying that he's so sick he can't do anything. It's very simple to explain that and logically justify that. But the difference between that and like what I'm seeing here is that, again, it's like the Path of Math thing. It's like the Amber Heard thing. This is a person who clearly has a pattern of misrepresenting things. They misrepresented what happened with the way that his watermark was removed and how Russia Today imposed their own watermark instead of it. And they also misrepresented what the copyright law would do if it was applied to all of the different sites. So this is already a person who has been shown to misrepresent things and to be disingenuous. So I would assume that they are also in this circumstance doing the exact same thing. I think that's fair.
Kremlin. Just set aside the fancy animations and the emotional rhetoric for a minute. Business Casual is arguing to undo all of the hard-fought advancements that were made with regards to copyright on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because RT filed some false counter notifications. Russia itself responded to all this and basically said, if you take his side, we're going to block YouTube in the entire country.
Smart.
And he still wants the few seconds of those 3 videos to result in the deletion of 39 other channels. He is literally pushing for the exact opposite of what creators have been fighting for years. He wants to make it harder to dispute copyright claims because he filed a copyright claim and a large corporation kind of screwed him a little bit. Okay, well, let's all be rational. What happens when you make it harder for creators or anyone on YouTube to fight copyright claims? Let me see. Large corporations screw
Quantum.
us. If Business Casual gets what he wants, it will be the literal antithesis of what individual creators on YouTube have been fighting, advocating, and pleading for. Now, yes, the case was struck down, and to be clear, it was the case against YouTube that got struck down. The case against RT is ongoing.
I think that's
Business
fair.
Casual is out here vowing to fight again, and it wasn't struck down with prejudice, so he very much could fight again. Remember when Jukin Media tried to screw MXR Plays?
The thing is, like, as soon as the facts get out, because usually you'll have something like this come out and everybody is just like outraged at YouTube, but then after people kind of pick it apart and see what's really underneath it, then the trust and like Business Casual is not going to follow through with a second lawsuit against YouTube if the public sentiment is not in his favor or is not in their favor. It would be suicide. Like, why would they even do that?
For those that don't remember, it was a bit of a moment online where a giant company tried to use copyright claims to mess with an individual channel. Yeah, this guy is trying to undo the beneficial system that YouTube now has for those defending against a claim, making it easier for a company like Jukin Media to claim content from channels like MXR and shut down any response they might have. Business Casual would rather the entire Russian population lose access to all of YouTube, while advocating that the platform reverse all the creator-centered benefits on copyright that it has finally enacted over the past few years, than simply target the main deserving party in court, Russia Today, and settle it that way. Section 230 should absolutely be looked at. YouTube does plenty of scummy shit on their platform. Shadow banning definitely is a thing in some capacity.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a big deal if it happened here, right? I feel for them. That's not okay if YouTube shadow banned their whole video on it. I guess, like, I'm not for that. RT may very well have screwed Business Casual on fair use. Seems to me like it meets probably 3 out of 4 pillars on fair use.
It's very hard for me to say whether YouTube would be in the right for deleting their channel. Because, like, if you're publishing information and actually filing legal documents that are inaccurate about YouTube, and you're using YouTube as an avenue to advertise and to kind of get people on your side for it, would YouTube be in the right, like, ethically, to remove their channel? What do you guys think? I'm leaning on the side of yes. It's a private website, of course. Well, I don't care about if it's a private website or not. That doesn't really matter, but only if it broke their terms of service. I don't care about YouTube's terms of service. They don't matter to me. YouTube doesn't care about them either. So you're alone in this. What I do care about is like what is fair and what should happen. I don't think that it's fair that somebody can use YouTube's platform to defame them on factually wrong things that are being submitted as legal evidence. It's one thing if it's a crazy person with a YouTube channel that's like just saying that YouTube is going to kill them or something crazy like that. I don't think that's that big of a deal. And in that case, I think that YouTube would have less grounds ethically to remove the channel. But because these people are filing legal documents, and this is a legal proceeding, that they are trying to shift the court of public opinion against YouTube on factually wrong information, I don't think it's really against YouTube if they're going to delete the channel. You see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like if you pull everything apart, like that's where it comes together for me. YouTube should have algorithms instead of autoplay someone else's account. YouTube, the only place being hosted, yes. Being hosted on other places, maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure. Account suspending pending outcome of case. Yeah, maybe that would make sense. Sure. All right, let's see here.
But I'm not the judge, so whatever.
Okay.
It's not wrong to root for this guy on the premise of smaller company versus huge state-sponsored media outlet, but we all need to understand that what he advocates for is fundamentally disruptive and harmful to average creators as a whole.
Yes.
It would be used a few times by an individual creator who gets their work stolen by a huge company, or it could be used constantly, all the time, by big companies claiming the footage
opening Pandora's
that individual creators use. Think about this.
It's a bad idea.
How often have we, as a community, rallied behind a small creator who used a few seconds of footage and is now under copyright threat from a big evil corporation, and they claim fair use? Now, open your eyes, right? Because it's not a dream. That's precisely the opposite functionality here. As business casual whips up public
So I feel like this could be distracting to watch, and so I made it smaller.
Support for making it possible to claim content with less oversight, and a few seconds of work can be used to get dozens and dozens of channels banned. I have no love for Russia Today. Let's just kind of remove them from the equation. I don't care what happens to them, but take the name off, right, and just think about the functionality here.
And I think that's why people do support business casual, is because of Russia Today. It has nothing to do with the facts. It has everything to do with bias. They've already made up their mind about who's right before they even watched the video, before they read anything.
Think about the reality of what this man is pushing for, and hopefully all of us can realize that it's backwards. His video is heavily playing on emotion, it is deceptive, it misrepresents numerous different facts of the matter, and I really just kept thinking to myself the entire time watching, that's not actually how any of that works. The incendiary take is that business casual should not sue YouTube on this topic, likely has no case, and should probably just drop it. Because this entire thing is monumentally deceptive and would be ultimately harmful to the ecosystem if he succeeded. In prep for this video, I expressed heartfelt interest in understanding what was happening. I sent a couple of emails to his inbox, I commented on the video, hoping to be seen there, and I made it clear I've been critical of YouTube in the past, and understanding these issues is paramount, but I got no response. Anyone familiar with this channel knows that I am very, very critical of YouTube on a number of issues. I'll jump at the chance to criticize them, but this one just doesn't cut it.
I think that's what really matters. Is like, remember what I said before about like the main time that you have to worry about being taken advantage of, getting finessed, is not whenever you're watching things that you agree with, but whenever you're watching things that whenever you disagree with it. It's whenever you're watching things that you agree with, because you will fill in the gaps and allow things to not make sense and still believe them because you want them to be true. And I think that's what a lot of people have done. A lot of people don't like YouTube. They don't like the state of YouTube right now. They don't like the state or like where social media is or something like that. And they're using this situation as an avenue to express that. It's confirmation bias. It's fair. Yeah, people have already made up their mind.
YouTube is not harming our democracy or subverting America in league with the Kremlin, whatever the fuck he said, because RT stole a few seconds of parallax animation.
It's outrageous.
Maybe it's harming our democracy in a different way, aka censorship and selective visibility, but that's a completely different thing. Business Casual is out here tweeting at the CIA to investigate Google's Moscow headquarters, as if they care about, like, the overblown, dramatized shit that he's saying. He's tweeting at the State Department to get involved, and he's trying to undermine the best working version of a copyright system that we have ever had on YouTube because he's pissed at a big company. I want to fight evil big tech firms as much as anyone else, okay? That much has always been true. You all know this. But this is just completely absurd and should not be taken seriously. That's it. I know some people will be disappointed by this take, or maybe...
No, I really appreciate this video. I think this is a great video. Because as somebody who knew nothing about it, the truth is, I assumed that YouTube was in the wrong. I just did. Because, like, I've seen YouTube do a bunch of other stupid stuff. I assumed it. Now, I never said that because I didn't know. But, like, just in the back of my mind, I was like, yeah, YouTube's probably fucking wrong. Thank God for upper echelon gamers for shedding light on this. Thank God.
Enraged by this take, very upset. How can I come out criticizing this? But, like, I mean, I don't want to use the word unhinged. Actually, no, I want to use the word
He's unhinged.
That video
it is unhinged.
Is either so severely sensationalized to a point where, like, it shouldn't be taken seriously, or it's unhinged and shouldn't be taken seriously. Whatever. Bad lawsuit, manipulative video on the part of Business Casual, harmful results should he succeed, and yet somehow everyone is starting to back him and root for him.
Because they don't like YouTube.
Links down below to support, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.
Great fucking video. Holy shit, what a good video. Wow. It's so hard for a content creator like him or anybody to come out and go against the grain. Especially whenever it's like the big company, the big corporation. Like, to actually take that side and have a strong argument for why they're not always wrong. It's very hard to do that. Like, I've done that before and it's always sucked, and he's doing that now. And I think this deserves a lot of support. Obviously, we've watched a lot of his videos. I talked to him, I think, once or twice. Maybe next time something comes up, I might bring him on my stream to talk about, you know, whatever it is. I like the guy a lot, and, you know, I think he gives great insight. He knows what he's talking about. So I'll link it again. Yeah, it's only got 5,000 likes. But again, and this is how much people want to know the truth. This has a 10% reaction ratio. You know, well, actually about like 9% because it's 55 almost. But it's a little bit under 10%. This is a great fucking ratio of, like, people that watched the video to people who liked it. Because so many people are so fucking tired of online. You read something and it's bullshit. You read some bullshit that's not true and it's a lie, and you're just tired of seeing it, man. And I'm very glad to see more people speaking up about it. Yeah, I'm glad to see people showing support for the truth rather than the convenient lie. Instant you enact a law, it's done to protect the little guy. You better make sure it's airtight as a law. Yeah, because then the big guys become the little guy. That's right. Business Casual, winning will negatively affect YouTube. This is what happens when you put its size right down to the smallest of things, acting on emotions and not thinking about consequences. I think that he doesn't care about the consequences. This is his moment to shine. This is his time in the sun, and he's going to be able to use this to promote himself and be effectively a freedom fighter in his mind against, you know, it's like his David and Goliath situation. And there's a lot of people that, like, you know, let's be honest, nowadays, things are pretty fucking good. There, you know, if you're living in the first world here, there's no massive oppressive government that's going to, like, kill you if you say something bad. But, like, there's no massive wars. It's not like Hitler's is out there anymore. He's gone. Like, in general, life is really fucking good now. For people in the West, in America, like Canada, most places in Europe. That's what I'm talking about, right? Those places, things are pretty fucking good. And you get people that are bored and they're jousting at windmills. And that's what this guy, I think, is doing. Yeah, life is actually pretty fucking good. Yeah, what he actually wants to get out of this, what does it accomplish? It puts, as I said, I think that, again, you always have to look at who stands to gain. Yeah, and that's what it is. Forgot about Putin? Well, Russia's bad. Like, yeah, that's true. Whenever I said, well, I guess Europe, I don't know. Yeah, I guess Russia is in Europe. I view like Europe as like the countries in the European Union. Like in my mind, I did not consider Russia as part of Europe whenever I said that. But yeah, obviously Russia and China are massive exceptions, and so are some countries in South America. Absolutely. But I'm talking about people here in like the Western developed first world countries, America, Australia, Canada, and many of the EU countries. I think that they're pretty fucking good. Like it's the best quality of life in general, probably the most freedom almost that people have ever had in all of history. And you have people that go and they look for problems. South Korea and Japan aren't doing too hot lately. I don't know. I feel like those are good places, but I don't know. I haven't been there. South America's fucked, bro. Like South America, I feel like nobody talks about that. Like about how fucked it is. Like every time that like, I mean, you think about it, like where are the people that are farming like WoW gold and they can't afford anything? It's like they're always in South America. It sucks, man. Fucking sucks. Yeah, Venezuela. Yeah, people like that come to Brazil. I feel like my understanding of Brazil, and like this could be totally wrong, and so like I don't really know what I'm talking about. I've never been there. Is like half of Brazil is like really nice, and the other half is really bad. It's like Mexico City, kind of. Is that accurate or not? Yeah, I don't know. I've seen Americans moving into Mexico City because it's cheap and Mexicans are telling them to go back. Yeah, how do you like it, huh? I don't really complain about it here where we're at, right? Because like, I mean, I went to history class. I mean, I'm basically living in what used to be Mexico. So like, I mean, yeah, big surprise. There's a lot of people here that are Mexican. So it's whatever. But yeah, that's what you get, man. That's what you get. It's very divisive in the social class status. Yeah, maybe that's the case, man. Either way, I'm really glad to see this video, and I hope to see more stuff like this. I think I'll watch the Greek video tomorrow. I'm gonna watch the Tower of Fantasy 2.0 thing because I've said I was gonna look at that, and I just haven't done that. Very interesting video. Yeah, I've got a few more that I want to watch, but I'm just not gonna get into them right now. Give me 1 second. Tower of Fantasy 2.0. Is this the video right here? Second one. Is that it? Second one? All right. I'll watch it, and then I'll also watch the MMO bite video about it. And then I actually want to play the game for a bit. Here we go. Step into the wilderness. This looks nice. I have that mount. Cool. Yeah, it's cool. All right. Yeah, I'll probably play it when it comes out. I know people want me to watch this, so there it is. That's pretty good. All right. So let's go ahead. Well, let's watch the video about it, okay, guys? Yeah. Man, Genshin Impact sure looks a lot like Tower of Fantasy, man. They must have got a lot of ideas from him. Here we go. Nice reaction. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Okay. I mean, the world bosses are like, you just hit it like a few times, you open a chest, like it's not a big deal. Who cares about, oh, you make a harder world boss. Oh, great, now it's going to be more annoying to do. I don't know. I mean, it's very hard to get me excited about outdoor boss content in video games because I just always assume they're garbage. Here we go. Let's watch it.
So I have had far too many people DM me on Discord, tag me on Twitter, telling me, hey Sticks, did you know the Tower Fantasy Twitter just announced the global 2.0 release for the game? And I'm like, yeah, of course I know. Attached to the tweet was a 45-second trailer of 2.0, and people are, they're losing their minds. Wow. I, on the other hand, actually remember the
bro, like, look at the first fucking comment. Nemesis is a scam. I got Constellation 3 Tsubasa and not a single Nemesis. If I don't get Frigg, I will quit. The first fucking comment.
Their minds. I, on the other hand, actually remember the 2.5-minute trailer that was released for the Chinese 2.0 update, which showed significantly more. This is a trailer that the vast majority of you have not watched, have not seen in any capacity. And while 2.0 was revealed and does not currently have a release date other than soon, I thought we could A, take a look at the Chinese trailer together, and B, take a look at GameGaki's gameplay of 2.0 as he explores part of it, apparently dies, something I'm sure all of you are familiar with, and maybe to end up a little more excited than the people are over on Reddit. But at the same time, you know this comment right here is 110% accurate. Before we go any further, I just want to take a moment here to thank all of the absolute chads and chadettes that support this channel via Patreon. You're all freaking legends. Seriously, each and every single one of you.
Chinese trailer.
I would offer to give each of you a kiss, but I suffer from severe intimacy issues. Additionally, if you want to stay up to date with all the latest MMO gacha and gaming news, take a second here to follow Mrs. 69 over on Twitter. We tweet daily.
Wow. Here we go. So this is the Chinese trailer.
So again, this is the Chinese version of the trailer.
Okay, here we go.
I do recall watching this quite a while ago when it was first announced.
Okay, so you got the weird mammoth dudes. Now this is pod racing.
The new region though looks absolutely stunning.
Looks good.
And the floating pyramid in the sky, dude.
It's nice. That better be a mount.
That looks kind of sick. I guess this might be a bit of a spoiler, right? We're working with Nemesis. Now, I do want to note here that
really cool.
2.0 is when people claim the game becomes more of itself. It becomes less of a clone and stands more on its own 2 feet.
I think that's basically what happened with Genshin Impact, to be fair, is that originally the game was a lot more derivative of Breath of the Wild, and then after it was developed over time, it became its own thing. And now, obviously, like, there is some similarities with, you know, Genshin Impact and Breath of the Wild. The game really is, it's a different game. Why is she laying down?
Dude, I need her. I need to pull her.
I'll say the graphics in like the city look cool, for sure.
I know I pointed this out in the first video I did on this, but I just how much do you guys bet they censor this character before she's released? I have this weird feeling that they're gonna end up censoring her purely based off of what she's wearing underneath. Yeah, let's go on. But
I don't know why they censor the characters. Like, nobody wants that. Like, nobody wants this. You know what I mean? Like, who's asking for this? Who wants this? It's weird.
With how China loves to censor things.
Oh, CCP does it?
Or maybe we'll be lucky and they won't censor her. I don't know. And this is the main city that's going to be present.
That's cool.
That actually we saw in the two.
I hope if they have a city like this that like there's no channels in it and you can just see everybody in the city, and then outside of the city there's channels. Because like I think one thing that Tower of Fantasy misses out on is being able to see a lot of players out in the world. Like that's actually like a massive problem. Like most of the time whenever I'm playing the game, it might as well be a single player game.
2.2 trailer that we looked at just a few days ago with like the Vocaloid singing. That, you know, that is a much better trailer than the global teaser that we received. And then there's GameGaki's gameplay.
So those are the 3 new characters right there. Wow, I would have never expected that. Wow. Who could have ever predicted that these would be the 3 new characters? Isn't that crazy?
And then there's GameGaki's
gliding around
gameplay.
Okay.
Now, I'll include a link to GameGaki's YouTube channel in the description if you want to go ahead and check this out.
Wait, isn't that just the same boss that we already have? Doesn't that guy look just like the fucking Roback, whatever the fuck his name is? Sobek? Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we already had it. Wait a minute. Hold on, yeah. It is one of the old Elden Ring trick, yeah. Let's see what the gameplay's like. I mean, I don't really care. It's just funny.
We're just gonna skip through it.
If the game's good, I won't care.
Look at it, because I'm sure a lot of you guys want to experience this yourself. Part of the appeal of new areas, new monsters, new bosses, is being able to experience it yourself, right? But that doesn't mean we can't still just take a couple minutes here and revel in the beauty of patch 2.0.
Looks nice. They need to have more world events in this game. Like, all you do really is you do the bounties, and they take 10 minutes. And then after you do the bounties, it's over. There's nothing else that happens in the game. You just queue into a menu, and then you go to another menu to get the rewards from queuing into the first menu. And then you have the third menu that once you get enough of the rewards from the second menu, that one pops up and you have to go to the third menu to combine the items. But you don't have enough things to combine them, so you have to go to the shop menu. It's just like, oh my god. Yeah, they need world events.
Which is... like 1.0 that we got looked great. It really did, but like with Genshin, the regions that they continue to add get progressively better.
You hope so, with all those people spending money.
Man. Are those like camel llamas?
Okay. Like, what do you do? Like you go click on that and then what?
I love the...
Mike, am I crazy? Like, it's just like there's nothing to do? Like, it's like the world looks... like, I think visually it looks very appealing. The game looks good. But like, there's nothing to, like, why would you go out there and do stuff? Like, why aren't there like world quests and like world events, stuff like that to do?
Sandstorm weather effect.
Yeah, and also because like the player base is divided so much that like I also think that they should probably have like more dynamic respawns rather than like just having to wait. Like if there's a bunch of people, like I don't see enough players out in this game. The Desert Part 2. Yeah, they took the Desert Part 2 seriously, exactly. That's cool. Wait. Aren't those just like the other... Wait.
I see the sand move. Is that quicksand? No way, right?
Oh. That's really cool. You know what? This is actually really cool. So there's quicksand and you have to like figure out how you're going to get around there. I like this.
Oh, you actually sink to your death.
So can you jump?
That is a sick
That's
feature.
Funny. I like that. So like in this area, like there should be a bunch of people everywhere.
Dude, that is so cool.
Where's all the people? Like we need to, like you need to have more people in the area.
Oh man, this is gonna be an absolute blast to play through.
How you get out? I'm probably jumping.
I hope we can explore around here without the necessity of a floating taxi.
Yeah, if you could go there on your own, that'd be better.
And there I am. There's my answer.
You can, yeah. See, like again, like all this work is like just for nothing if you can't see other people out in the world, and there aren't like little events and things that you can do.
Now, if
like, I feel like how do you make an MMO better instantaneously? Put more people in the area and add proximity voice chat. Problem solved. That's all you have to do. And have it turned on by default. That's it.
You're excited for this this update. I would advise you to stay off of Reddit because there is a lot of toxicity there for the game, for the upcoming patch, for all of the issues that the game is going through right now. And let me tell you, there have been a lot of issues since this game launched. At the same time, it might be best to stay off their Twitter.
See, like, I actually don't even know what the issues are because I haven't read anything about it on Reddit. I've just played the game. Like, I'm actually that guy who's wondering why there hasn't been any BlizzCons recently. Man, whatever happened to BlizzCon? Whatever happened to that long-haired guy that used to be working at Blizzard, right? What's been going on over there? Why do they keep changing all the NPC models? What the hell?
Yeah, only 3,000 likes. Laughing my ass off. This game has already flopped in China. No wonder it's not that popular, and even more after the honeymoon. What's with the constant hacking and the bugs in China's server, which has been running for quite some time now, and they still haven't fixed those issues. This actually went out to get a bunch of likes as well.
I mean, I think that's a little context is missing there. The person who commented after them completely ratioed them for being a whiny bitch. So that's not entirely accurate.
Now, we do not have a direct confirmed release date for the game yet.
I think that like the reason why I don't complain about this tower fantasy game as much is because I just went into it knowing the game was going to be garbage. Like, I knew it was going to be garbage. So, like, if there's something that's garbage in the game, it's like, yep, see. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I never get disappointed with this game. It's impossible for me to be disappointed with the game.
This patch, but it is coming very soon. And people are a little bit concerned that Tower Fantasies developers are trying to push through as many patches as possible in a very small time frame, and that in doing so isn't going to leave much room to actually A, explore all of the content, B, consume all of the content in a timely fashion, or more specifically at a moderate pacing. And
I think people are just worried because they're not going to get the characters. I think that it's unreasonable to say that, like, what do you mean explore all the content? You just go run around and do the quests. Like, that's it. It's over. Like, there's not really a whole lot there to do. Like, I mean, it's just people are like, oh my god, they're going to add a new character and I want to buy this one too because I'm neurotic and I have to fucking spend money on this fucking video game gambling waifu simulator. Like, what are you doing? Like, getting mad that they're adding a new video game gambling waifu. Like, what the fuck did you think this was? You know what I mean? Like, what do you do?
See that we're going to encounter more errors, more issues than we have time to realistically deal with. But at the same time, they are trying to push the game to 2.0 so they can attempt to catch up with the Chinese version of the game as fast as possible. Because let's be honest here, 2.0 again is supposed to be a drastic overhaul of the game. So much so that 2.0 makes 1.0 feel completely irrelevant.
Yeah, we'll see.
At least that's what people say.
All right. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. As I said, this game is impossible for this game to disappoint me. I went into it expecting that it would be absolute trash. It would be a horrible fucking piece of shit game. I have been pleasantly surprised that it is at least kind of fun to play. The systems in the game are below average. The world exploration is above average. The voice acting and questing is, I think, above average. The character creation is above average. That's about it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's about it. I mean, there's nothing that's, yeah, it's free. So it's like a 5 out of 10. I think if I was going to rate Tower of Fantasy, I'd say a 6.5. Probably more like a 6. Like, if you don't care about the gambling elements of the game, it's a 6.5. If you do care about the gambling elements of the game, it's a 4.5. Like, I would say somewhere around there. Tower of Fantasy, what do you expect from Genshin now? I don't know. I actually don't know what to expect from Genshin Impact. I'm not sure. I hope it's good. Like, I genuinely hope that I can play the game and have fun. I want to play a game and enjoy playing the game. What do you mean the systems? Like leveling up your gear, leveling up your weapons, you know, farming items, what your weekly activities are, what your daily activities are, stuff like that. Yeah, that's what I would say. Will you play and make a review of Genshin Impact? Yeah, I will. Yeah, I definitely will. What do you think of Blue Protocol? I mean, I just expect it to be probably like maybe a better version of Tower of Fantasy. Like that's basically I like basically another reskin of Tower of Fantasy. Like same general vibe, probably like similar gameplay, hopefully less Gamba shit, but that's about it. Your Genshin single player game that people wail in, isn't that crazy? Well, you can play with other people and there are ways that you can show off. And I think that also, like, a lot of people, like, Genshin Impact is one of those games that has people that play pretty much Genshin Impact, right? And they play games like Genshin Impact. So it gets an audience of people that wouldn't necessarily be gamers. No, that's what I would say. Where Gotchark incoming? Well, I mean, the way I look at it is, like, I want to play like as many games as I can to understand them if I feel like the game will be fun to play. That's why, like, for example, I didn't really ever play ESO that much more. I didn't really like the game that much. It was okay, but it's not something that, like, I was really, like, like, the combat wasn't fun. Like, everything in the game comes right down to the combat. Like, if I like the combat, I'll play the game. If I don't, I won't play the game. It's that simple. And it's all there is to it. So what would make Tower of Fantasy a better MMO? I think immediately what would make Tower of Fantasy a better MMO to have areas in each zone that are more tailored towards end-game players that have random events that occur so players can go and do those events. I think the world bosses right now are boring, and like, I mean, it doesn't have to be something like a boss. It could just be something like, imagine, you know, like those the dream machine thing that you do. Like, imagine if one of those towers just like appeared out of the ground and you had to climb to the top of it, and like it would despawn in 30 minutes or an hour. Like, that would be cool, because you could just like immediately go over there. It would show up on the map. You're like, what the fuck, right? Because the draw distance would be there. So yeah, dynamic events, things like that. Like, that would make it fun and better immediately. So that's what I would say. I'll never play Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 does not appeal to me in any way. Like, that's the way I would say it. Does not appeal to me in any way whatsoever. I'm going to play this for a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to get Chipotle today again or not. I'm not sure. I'm going to knock out some of the daily stuff. Okay, here we go. Doesn't like Guild Wars 2 gameplay. Well, I just look at the game, and nothing about the game feels appealing. Like, I don't like the way it looks. I don't like the way it plays. I don't think that there's a big audience for it, so there's not like a intrinsic reason for me to want to stream it for like viewers or to get a new audience of people. There are basically no reason